Hello and welcome. We are here to review the novel Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And it is so unique. It's refreshingly unique in its narrative voice, in the kind of plot, in the characters, and the insight that it gives us into the world of the entertainment industry. And all of the, again, I think we've struck it really lucky with the novels that we have been looking at of late. All of the reviews have been on the money. You know, it is absolutely superb. So I suppose one of the things that I would like to talk about tonight is the really unique narrative voice.
Yes.
And really, it's like a docu-series or nearly like an oral history narrative voice. And, initially I found it a little bit disconcerting, because you had so many different voices coming in at a time. How did you find it?
I was the same. Now the thing that struck me was you've got so many different perspectives of the same sort of event, and it gives you that whole bigger picture sort of thing, because I know we read a lot of fiction from, one narrative perspective, so it's quite biased all the time. So it was quite interesting getting that whole sort of pieces of information, on a topic. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was different. I don't really like, I wouldn't say it's a dialogue heavy, but it's not a narrative text, if that makes sense.
It's unique. It really is unique. It wasn't clunky. It wasn't a case of, once you got used to this kind of very unique narrative style, it wasn't a case that you were going, in between the different characters and, who's speaking again? Because each character had a very distinct voice.
Yes.
And even, their little tells and their speech and everything. So just to kind of give a synopsis of what this text is about, and I apologise, I am dosed with the cold, so I'm just so conscious of the fact that
I'm just in recovery, so I'm feeling great.
I'm blaming her, but the show must go on. We are committed to the cause, and obviously the Prosecco makes it a little bit easier to cope with. But yes, so the text itself was inspired by the Fleetwood Mac
the 1997 Silver Springs performance.
Absolutely. With Lindsay Buckingham and
Stevie Nicks.
And I suppose that intense
the
passion and everything else. So, we have obviously Daisy Jones, who is one of the key female, is it right to say protagonist? Well, the text really revolves around the dynamic between her relationship with Billy Dunn, who they were both the lead singers or the key singers within this band, Daisy Jones and the Six, and I suppose their relationship and the dynamic within that. Then you have the perspectives of the other band members who are also integral. I can't say that with
with your blocked nose.
Everything is blocked. My tongue feels so much bigger than normal. You know the word.
Integral, yes.
We'll have subtitles for this series tonight. Yes, so they are a key part.
Yes, and they have their own wee subplots going on as well. I feel like with Fleetwood Mac, because again that's what this is inspired by, I feel like the public was so focused on Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham that you nearly forgot there's other members in this band, and they had their own drama too.
That's the word I was going to say. It's all about the drama, and the drama is epic, because running parallel and alongside that, you have the relation. If we look at the relationships first of all within it, you have this central relationship between Daisy Jones and Billy Dunn. Then you also have, there's two sets of siblings in it.
Yes.
So you have
the Dunn brothers,
Graham and Billy, who
Yeah.
are brothers. Then you have Eddie and is it Phil? So you have the two brothers.
Yeah.
And then you have Camilla, Billy's wife.
You've also
have
got Karen.
Karen,
yeah.
who is the keyboardist, and you have Daisy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the romantic relationship between Camilla and Billy. You have the romantic relationship between Karen and Graham.
Yeah.
And then you have the relationship between and it is
For me,
is it a romantic relationship
yeah.
between
Well, I think
Billy and Daisy?
how I seen it was, I thought it was right person, wrong time sort of thing. You know, you might disagree.
I do.
I feel like Billy and Daisy are two halves of the same coin. They're soulmates in a sense, you know. Like, for me, I really got the sense that their two souls understood each other, you know, in all sense of the word.
Well, you see, this is what I struggled with, and I did say that this
Yeah.
before we're kind of chatting on and off throughout the week as we were reading it, and this text, I said to you, made me so grateful that I have zero talent. Zero talent, that I can't sing, you know, that I have nothing to offer the entertainment
Yeah.
industry in that regard, because this is a really, I suppose, the realistic narrative style, which is so tightly woven in, offers
Yeah.
a realistic insight into the superficiality
Yeah. Like,
of that
but
world, and the
even,
vice that's in it,
yeah,
and the drugs, and
but that's the thing, you know,
the-
we hear as
I'm going to say this word, and you and I will probably fall out.
I'm trying to go through my bank of words.
No, because the immorality
But
of
I
it.
feel like, you know, usually we, the audience, we're the spectators to, you know, a celebrity's downfall.
It's like a fly on the wall documentary.
Yes, and we're usually hearing about the side effects of fame, but I found in this, I actually felt them, and I could feel Billy's struggle. I could feel
With his
Daisy
addiction.
yes,
Yes.
and not that I could condone what he did, because I don't think what he did to Camilla was, or is it
It is
Camilla?
Camilla or Camila, whatever way you want to pronounce it.
I don't think that was justified at all, but I could sort of see how with fame you do kind of go down this rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're too deep into it and you're trying to claw your way back up.
You're talking about the addiction.
The addiction, the affair, which again you can't justify, but you know, at the time it's believable because that went hand in hand with that rock and roll
Well,
lifestyle.
so this is where I think the discussion will get very interesting, because we're both married.
Yeah.
We're both women.
Yeah.
So check. So as I am reading this, and you know, if you think about our discussion in our last episode with the other Bennett sister, you had mentioned, you'd given me the terms for it, you see, and I can't remember now.
Was it internalized misogyny or something? Yeah.
And I just find it like, irrespective of the demons that they had or the issues that they had, because I do think that that's, you know, there's a whole host of things here. So their drug addiction, and I like the fact that she didn't romanticize it.
Oh,
you know,
no,
she
it
didn't
was-
it was
yeah.
ugly. And it was really, 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 really disturbing the way that the addiction to, and how it was normalized, and how easy it was to
Oh yeah,
to
they
get.
like they were rock stars. It was nearly the expected
Yeah.
thing.
But what I struggled with, and I still struggle with today, and I don't care whether you're a rock star, whether you are working a 9 to 5 job, whether you're a stay-at-home mother, whether you are single, don't care. Like, there are things that are right and wrong, and the narcissistic, I will take what I want. And for Daisy Jones to know that he was married, that he had children,
I know.
you know, for her to say, well, you know, I love him and I want him. I find that really,
she is like a selfish character.
but that had nothing, absolutely
But-
nothing to do with her addictions. It
Yes.
was, you know, so that was a
But
separate entity.
The thing is, whose responsibility is it? Is it her who is a single? Now I know be a girl's girl, don't do it. But is it
No, I
her
think there are standards.
who doesn't have the family, or is it him who
Listen,
has that responsibility?
To answer your question, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. You know, different thing if she had got caught up in a relationship with him and not known his family circumstance. But to know and to do that and to say that this is who I want, and I love him. There's no such thing as, stepping away and being a moral, principled person. And that, in the middle of all this vice, is probably the thing that I was most disgusted with. I thought it was absolutely horrendous that any person, whether it's a male or a female, would do that. Because to me, that just, like, you have no morality, you have no principles, you have no values. And it's just
Daisy Jones getting absolutely berated.
Well,
what about Billy?
No, I'm here. I'll get started on him in a wee minute. I'm just saying, from the female, for somebody, and I've said female, what I mean is for a person knowingly to do that and knowingly to say, look, I don't care who's going to be taken out here, who's going to be damaged, what I want, I get. And that really, really irked me. It really did.
I do understand that, but I feel like their characters were written in such a way that they were nearly two halves of a whole, like under different circumstances. Or if they had met first, they would have been the perfect imperfect couple.
They wouldn't have been a perfect imperfect couple, because neither one of them could be selfless enough. They were both fundamentally egotistical, narcissistic. This is me, power trip.
Yeah. Okay.
They were a creative force second to none. And I really got that. And there has to be, I hate this word, but it's the only word that can come to mind. There has to be some kind of creative chemistry between them, which was there. And that's all well and good. But
I agree with you to an extent, because, and I'm going to bring it to Billy this time, because I feel like she showed humanity, and obviously it's through the lens of celebrity. Us normies we're not going to realistically behave like that, because we don't have the same access. Just let me finish. I'm not saying everybody wants to do it, and I'm definitely not implicating you here. I'm just saying she showed all of humanity in its ugliness, because that's what it is. But Billy did try to, and I know you might say it was a bit too late, but
I might say, what was too late?
Him trying to make amends, whenever he found out she was pregnant, he took himself straight to rehab, because he didn't want to have the baby see him as this druggy, washed up rock star.
Absolutely, I get that. No, my issue with Billy was, okay, and here we go. Be ready for this one. So my issue with Billy is that he loved Camilla.
He did, yes.
He did. He had, obviously they had a troubled relationship with it again. Same thing, all comes back to the nucleus of the family. Graham and Billy both had a troubled relationship with their father, I think, who had abandoned them. And Billy obviously had issues about that, feeling abandoned, neglected. He didn't have a positive role model. And I suppose the psychology of that was impacting his adulthood,
and the relationships that he formed
as a result of that. Graham, interestingly, his brother had exactly the same upbringing, but reacted differently. And Billy, for all of his flaws and his addictions, what really, really pissed me off.
Using the big words.
I have a cold. I'm feeling very sorry for myself.
She can't use the big words, so she has to use the expletives.
I just have to use the words that I can say without
the simple words.
Yes, the simple words. And it really, really did. So yes, they are about to hit it big. Camilla has found out that she's expecting a child. What does he do? Run away off, get on the tour bus, and I can't cope. I'm going to live the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle. What a cop out. What an absolute cop out.
I agree.
And
there was bits in this where I
I'm
was
like,
going, I was
what?
rooting for you. But again, I'm not condoning this, but
no sympathy.
I
and
no,
no
absolutely
tolerance
not,
at
because
all.
she couldn't run away. But at the same time, you can sort of see, somebody's, where they've had
be
no
afraid,
responsibility.
absolutely.
Yes.
But you don't compound that by replicating the
Yes,
same thing.
but
That's
then,
a nonsense.
again-
it's a cowardly, selfish nonsense.
Yes, but did she? I'm not saying
And
that
then-
what he did was right, but she did say to him when she was pregnant with their first child, you can do whatever you want up until this baby's born.
I
and then
also
after
had
that,
issues with that.
Did you?
I
But
also,
I feel like
but
she was the level-headed person. Not that
we'll come to her in a wee
Right,
minute.
okay.
We will. I'll come to her in a wee minute, and then we'll talk about ultimately the marriage, which against all the odds prevailed. And what
again,
that
and I think that
says-
just says strength of her character.
absolutely
To put up with that.
Absolutely. But to come back to the argument with Billy and the fact that Camilla couldn't run away and he went away and did this, she actually discovered him in a very compromising situation, and
even the mortification of that, and
For her or him?
the humiliation on her
Absolutely,
part,
yes.
But that's the thing, like, you can only imagine what the partners and spouses of people in their sort of lifestyle were witnessing,
yeah,
and
I do think that lifestyle, and I did use the word vice, because the fact that there's no value to anything, there's no intimacy in sex. It's not regarded as a physical expression of love between two married people who love each other, to procreate, all of those things, just to go back. I mean, I know, but I'm just saying, so it was really just, it was about physical pleasure, and it was because it was plentiful, it was because it was there, it was because, like, it just showed this industry at its, shutters
we're
off
seeing the
industry.
glamorized
I
version
didn't
of it.
see- I didn't
No.
see
I
glamour.
mean,
But we're going to come to
Yes.
that. If you go right back again into the nucleus of it, what do you have? You have Daisy Jones, who was so damaged. Why? Because of her relationship with, or non-relationship with her own family.
yeah.
And you
See,
have
I
that.
think it also just goes to show, how fleeting fame can be as well. Like, one minute you have it, and the next minute it could all just,
But it's also the
blow up in your
emptiness of
face.
it, and the fact that the marriage of Daisy and Billy, as an institution, was the institution that lasted. Now, I don't know whether
Did you say Daisy and Bella?
or not Daisy and Billy.
I was going to say, what did we read?
I don't know. Listen, I am not
That
making.
right? It's okay. I worked it out quick enough.
You correct me. I will start
Yeah.
blending my words at one stage, or very shortly. But yes, the marriage, the enduring institution of marriage between Camilla and Billy, that he kept coming back to, and I have zero. The emotional adultery that went on. Adultery is not just the physical act, but the emotional adultery that went on there, I had serious issues with.
Yeah, I
You
feel like
cannot have I think you all like, it was such a damning expose of the worst of society.
Yeah, I feel she was a very strong character, Camilla. She loved him despite all his flaws,
Yeah.
No, but
know she did,
it
when-
does take a very strong person to be willing to stick by that, and not, because you would be
But did you
beaten-
find her believable in that regard?
I
Did you?
did. Well, I did. I found her believable in that she wasn't a robot.
No,
You
she
know,
felt it.
She felt it, and she did give him an ultimatum, but she knew, I feel like in her heart of hearts, she knew that if Billy went down this path with Daisy, it was gonna be catastrophic for him, you know, with, like, as you say, all of their vices. They were two broken people.
Can I also remind you of something? And I think it's really interesting that we looked at the other Bennett sister last week, and now this.
Well, this is a completely different novel.
You wouldn't think of the connections between
Yeah.
it, but one thing that you said really did stick out, and I agreed with it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't Mary's place to fix,
Yes.
you know, and
And
it's the
it's
same
not her-
thing. It's
yeah.
not Camilla's place
But
to
I don't
fix
think
Billy.
I don't think that's what she's doing necessarily either. I do believe that for her there was a foundation there of
Well, they did.
love,
They
you
have
know,
yes, they have a history.
and you know, whenever, because I think they were very young and all whenever they got.
They might have been.
Yeah.
they
No,
might-
I'm not
yes.
excusing that. I'm just saying, like, I'm even thinking of myself because I would wistfully look back to my early 20s. I think about, you know, because I got married, I was 22.
I was 19.
Yeah, well, okay. It's not
I beat you.
competition. But I think about, you know, 22-year-old me and how much I've changed and grown. And I've been lucky that me and my husband have grown together, rather than some people find that whenever they do get married so young, or even if they've just been with someone from, you know, they were 13 or 14, that they do start to grow apart, you know. And I'm not
No, I agree.
necessarily
I
saying
can
that's
see.
what
I
happened.
can see the point. But what I'm going to ask you is, like, there comes a point where you will know as well, as anybody will be who's in either a married relationship or a committed relationship, that being in a relationship means being selfless, not selfish, and trying to put
I'm very selfish, as Ian might say.
but trying to put
Compromise.
yes,
Yes.
and putting your marriage and your family first and foremost. This is the antithesis of that.
Yeah, I feel like,
And Billy was always pulled back to.
yes.
So, you know, that for me, I suppose, is a positive from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thoroughly enjoyed reading. Like, I was captivated by the reading of it.
Do you know, I think the context of it is very engaging, because even now, who isn't enthralled by that? There's sort of tumultuous romance between Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham. Like that,
absolutely,
their relationship
a
has
love-hate
stood.
relationship,
Yeah,
yes.
and people love to read about that. So to write a book,
Yes, a really good one
Yeah.
as well. But just even to come back to Daisy Jones and how what I found that Taylor Jenkins Reid did really, really well was that Daisy Jones was this really beautiful, effortlessly talented girl who was a songwriter, wonderful singer, enjoyed such success, and indeed she was the X factor that propelled
the
the band.
six.
It was that combination of talent between her and Billy that kind of propelled the band to the top of their game. And even, like, she was on the front cover of Rolling Stones, you know, all of these
Yeah.
big magazines. Everybody wanted her, everybody wanted to interview her. And at the height of that, she was lost. She was lonely.
Yeah.
She didn't have anybody to turn to. She was popping pills and doing
But I
lines
feel
of
like
coke. I learned more about drugs and drug addictions, and, you know,
Was this one of your books where you were like flicking through really fast?
I was like, there's a whole other world out there that I have no
but
idea.
again,
Thank
us
goodness.
normies couldn't.
But I began to think, thank you, God, that I am so far removed from this.
Here, I must be a bad person, because the whole time I was reading it, I was like, I'd love to be Daisy Jones.
No,
I just thought she was so
no,
cool.
I thought she was a
can
really
see, yeah.
poor facsimile of, you know, it's really, I suppose what that does, it exposes the fallacy of success and fame in the entertainment industry.
We see such a microscopic version, you know, like, you go see a Bon Jovi concert, you know, you're seeing, like,
Look, don't you dare bring Bon Jovi
snapshot.
into this.
No,
we
I'm
will
just
fall
giving,
out.
right,
I
Guns
love
N' Roses. You know, you're
like
seeing
them
a
too.
snapshot of them, and it's them live having fun, having a blast, but that's performative.
You know that John Bon Jovi, that I am
You're
absolutely...
telling me 80s
Hold on.
John Bon Jovi with all his
It
scarves
wouldn't
and
matter,
leotards
80s
and...
John Bon Jovi, 90s, noughties, and beyond. I think that man
His
is
rose tinted glasses with you.
absolutely, he is the most talented. He's very distinguished looking, but hold on a wee minute here. He's married. He has so there
And you're
has to
saying
be.
he didn't live the rock
No,
star
I don't know
life.
what he did, but I'm talking about me as a person. Like, yes, you're thinking, oh my goodness, in another life I could be married to John Bon Jovi. Never. But the fact of the matter is he's married. And I do think that, there have to be boundaries there. You don't
No, I agree.
set yourself up.
Yes.
So, I'm glad that you brought John Bon Jovi and Bon
No,
Jovi
I was
into
just
this,
trying to
but
make the point, like, we do see such a small glimpse into their lives.
well,
really.
you see the show, you see
But this was like
the character, the
everything
persona.
laid out on a plate.
It was a behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It was
And, okay, we've kind of talked about that, and we've talked about Billy, Daisy, Camilla, but we haven't talked about the interviewer.
Julia.
Julia,
Yes.
did you think that was
I
interesting?
loved that, and that became at the end that kind of
Yes.
authorial intrusion.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness me, and I thought that was really clever, and I really
I
liked
wasn't
it.
questioning who was making
No,
this.
I didn't think
Yeah.
to ask from the beginning, which I thought was so
Yeah.
clever as well. But and maybe you don't agree. I thought that it added again. Everything was so authentic.
Yeah.
Everything was presented as being so real. Everything, it was really this warts and all expose.
Yeah.
And then when you came in and you found out who the interviewer was and the connection to all of the key players, it just elevated that level of realism and authenticity.
Yeah. Do you think it was hard for her? Because I know
to be objective.
Well, not even that. Just to hear everything that did go on, with her dad and her mother, and then this third person who perhaps to her sort of intruded.
What I found about that, just when you say that, again, to come back to children, she was present for an awful lot.
She was the reason he
you
got sober.
But she was brought to the studio. She was
but again,
in it, and children, once they don't understand, they absorb.
Yes.
And they are very instinctive and intuitive, and they can pick up on a lot of things, about people that they like, people that they don't like, and as she was growing up and she became aware of the dynamic, she was there when her mother spoke to Daisy after that performance on stage, which I think was similar to the Stevie Nicks. You could kind of see the influence, the inspiration coming there. I think that it was important for her to speak to all of those key players, to get it all on record, to find the perspectives, so that she wasn't blaming anybody in the wrong or kind of giving someone else a Bible.
Yeah, I don't even think it was coming from a place of
was factual.
Blame. No, I don't think that she was like being vindictive or out to get anybody.
Definitely not, because it was completely, that's what I thought was really clever. It was so unbiased. It was just, this is what I saw. And sometimes there were some really wicked one-liners in it, that were just, you thought, okay, this is some dude who just, you can see him and just throwing it away. Just, this is too much drama for me. I'm going back to wherever. So there were some really good one-liners in it that really added to that. But I thought that it just added to the believability of it, the authenticity of it, the honesty of it. What I did struggle with at the end, and again, I struggled out of it all. Daisy, I didn't she was there. Like, what you saw was what you get. Warts and all. The character that I struggled with the most was Camilla.
I struggled with decision at the end.
Yes, with the email, because I put myself in that. So let's say, because there's a whole host of assumptions, and you're thinking about, okay, if I was in a similar situation where I walked in and I caught my husband with another woman, and I was able to get over that and move on, if I knew that my husband was having an emotional relationship with another woman that excluded me, and then you get beyond that. If you then take it forward that this emotional relationship was being played out right across the world on stage, and that you were, it was being beamed in, like she was at home watching that
I know,
on
yeah.
television. And so it was literally being beamed into her home. She was literally watching that, being left at home. I began to think, there's
You
something,
would not be at it.
it's not, I just don't think, that you can keep and still be so magnanimous.
Yeah.
And then go and speak to the other woman and be like, just knowing what women are like and human nature is like. Would you be so calm? Would you go with your
Would
child?
I?
I'm talking generally. I'm not asking a personal
Would
question like
I?
that.
Because I would have to dig deep here.
No, I just think that that for me didn't come across
See,
as
I'm-
being authentic, believable. However, thankfully, I have never been in that scenario or situation,
I'm the
so I don't.
opposite. I feel like out of all the characters in this, and we did have an eclectic mix, I feel like Camilla was the strongest in that she was like she stood her ground. She knew what
She was a strong character. I'm not taking that away from her. She definitely was a strong character. My point is, she wasn't a believable.
Oh no, I did. I thoroughly thought that she was
But at
believable.
the end
and
of that, when she died
I
and the
know.
email, and I started thinking, could I write an email like that to my girls? Hi, girls.
But it linked
basically,
back. They did promise her a song, and all,
I don't care.
Yeah.
When you die, make sure I have Daisy Jones's number. I know her and your dad had the hots for each other way back in the 70s there. Pass that number on to your dad and make sure that they write me a
But-
song. Not a mission would I be thinking that on my deathbed,
thinking
nor would I
was,
send that email.
As I said at the start, I think Daisy Jones and Billy was a case of, right person, wrong time.
No, the right person was Camilla. No, you can't turn around and say right person, wrong time. When you get married, okay, forsaking all others. Doesn't matter if somebody else comes, that's forsaking all others, for better or worse, which I think Camilla got. She got the better and she got the worse, and she lived true to that.
But Billy did end up, and again, he did a lot of bad things throughout the novel, but they did end up living a life together after the band.
I get that.
She knew that she had to take him away from all that.
But the fact of the matter is, this is where I come in. Like, that fact was as right when you said that at that point as it was right from the get-go. But he wanted the fame. He wanted the success. He wanted whatever.
But again, I think that there's just the, showing that there's sort of ugly side of human nature.
You cannot be in a marriage and say, look, I'm going to do this and, you'll be there when I get back.
That's
you
essentially
can't.
what he did.
But you can't do that.
No, you can't.
In real life, in
No.
real terms.
But that's what, I think this did show, the dark side of fame, and what that, Camilla wasn't famous. She wasn't.
No, she wasn't. But she wasn't believable as a,
Well, agree to disagree. I thought she was believable.
I thought she was strong. I thought she was courageous. I thought she suffered desperately. I think he was very aware of that. She was flawed as well because she had her own, I suppose, unrequited love that was kind of introduced that. And I think that the author did that to try and explain some of her decisions. But I just didn't buy it because I'm thinking, look, right, okay, let's take away the music industry. Let's go right back to human nature. Let's go back to institutions and let's go back to how people will react. So once perhaps you could get over you could try to work a way through it. I don't know.
Do you think it just happened too many times for you?
You're like,
Walk away,
at
girl.
what, it's not even walk
Yeah.
away, but at what point?
Where is the breaking point?
Yes, where is,
Yeah.
and that's why I suppose I could agree with you up until that email that was sent at the end. I was just like, what?
It
After
threw you
all
off.
of that, I'm just like, oh, that for me didn't
See,
allow me to buy into
I
her.
feel maybe, I think she had a deep respect for Daisy despite everything that went on. And I feel she loved her husband. And I do think he loved her in his own way as much as he could, in the circumstances. I don't think he loved her the way she deserved, however. But I do believe he loved her. And I think it was that respect for the two of them. It wasn't.
I
She
would
wasn't.
say it was a more real love that he had for his wife, because look, let's go
Or
back
a more realistic love.
No, a deeper love, a more profound love, because let's be honest, it's like that, the first time you're going out with someone and you have the butterflies and the
yes.
excitement, the adrenaline, that doesn't last.
No,
You can't
Daisy was
sustain that.
exciting.
And that, and that's essentially what that was, but on speed, on, heightened to whatever extent. But there is no, that's not real. That's transient. That passes. It doesn't last. And so he had a very deep love with Camilla. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been drawn back to it. And he wouldn't have, but he's just lucky that she was the character she was. But she was, I think, the only thing that kind of put the nail in it for me was that email at the end. It made her unbelievable, because I had suspended reality. I had suspended my I just couldn't build a bridge over that point.
Would you? But because it was never explicitly stated, whether this was for a romantic relationship, especially I think they're quite old now in this.
Oh, they are. This is well on.
If it was something, platonic, because she never said, oh, now they can finally be together,
No, but the fact of the matter is, I said to you, emotional adultery. You cannot have a platonic relationship with someone where you've had that kind of intense emotional connection with. You use the word platonic, which is pure friendship. There is no, but there is an emotional connection there, and you cannot have if you are married. Okay, it'd be the same as me going off and having a relationship on a deeper level, not necessarily a physical relationship, but a relationship on a deeper level that is exclusive to that person, because that's me having a relationship that keeps your daddy on the outside, and that's not right. So you can't have emotional adultery. That is adultery.
So I'm going to say something else here. So the end of the novel, they're all older. They've all went and they've lived their own lives.
Yes.
We can possibly say that they've matured a wee bit now that they've sort of grown out of that young rock and roll lifestyle.
Impetuous.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
They've grown up a wee bit.
Oh, you're on fire today, correcting me.
Yeah. Perhaps. No, but see, my short-term memory is so bad. I need to keep going.
Keep her lit.
Perhaps both Daisy and Billy at that point can see, well, those feelings were short-lived. Billy, perhaps, and we don't know because we don't have that narrative, but Billy in that time, in the life he had with Camilla post Daisy, he realised, that wasn't love. We were two creatives that connected together in that way, and I thought that was love, but it wasn't, so, and Camilla perhaps knew that, and that's why she stuck by him. No, just let me go. Daisy perhaps has also went away, lived her life, got some real world experiences, found out what it was she wanted as a woman, you know. And then Camilla knew that when they came back, not necessarily, because I don't think she was trying to like gatekeep her husband, like he's mine, stay away, you know. I don't think it was a controlling thing, but I think she knew that they weren't a romantic couple. They would never work romantically, but together when they made music, would you stop looking at me like that? You're
Just
putting
like,
me off.
This is going on for a long time.
But I'm trying to fill in all the holes so you can't say, but. I'm just saying, I could believe it that they could be a platonic creative force. I don't think, especially after that much time has passed, you would assume that they have matured.
You would. I'm okay. So what I would say is, in all that you have said there, it's possible. Is it plausible? Based on the amount of supposition that you have in there.
Well,
And
I think
again,
so.
you are talking from a perspective of someone who is grounded in family, who is rooted in the real
I must
world.
go back now and see how Stevie
know,
Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham
You
get
know,
on.
you know, because there's always you're always going to carry that, okay?
Yeah.
You know, that first or unrequited love or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So, you know, yes, it's plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? The amount of supposition, there's an awful lot of variables
I
there.
just had to fill in all the blanks.
You
so
know,
you
but
couldn't.
so to answer, it's possible.
But that
is
do you
it
know,
plausible?
We're debating this, and this is exactly what the writer wanted us to do, because she was looking at it through the lens, you know, Fleetwood Mac, all these songs that were written about their relationship.
What I really loved was the way that she characterized the songwriting process
Oh,
and
yes.
the you know, the songs that were written and how they came to be. I find that I really enjoyed the creative element of it. But there's one thing that I want to speak to you about as well, and I don't know if it's something that you focused in on too much, because there's so many layers to it, because you know, you're following the relationship between Billy and Camilla. You're following the drama with Billy and Daisy, and then you have Karen and Graham, and then you have the power struggles within the band and the egos that get into it, and all of that. And obviously somebody has to be a leader, but the thing that I want to ask you about was Rod, the kind of manager guy.
Yeah.
Because I find that whilst he seemed to be, you know, on a level the whole way through, there were things about his character that troubled me, in that the information that he had and failed to act on. And again, I find that a really good insight. So obviously Daisy's drug addiction.
Yeah.
And on a human level, I find his behavior repugnant. That he, you know, he's responsible. So he used the word responsible for Daisy on several occasions, you know, whenever he wanted to be responsible for her in terms of managing her. He wanted to be responsible for her in terms of, obviously, money, you know, the financial reward for the success that they would have. But that's where his responsibility, you know, lay. And I'm thinking, if you have a relationship with someone, no matter whether it's a professional relationship and a personal relationship,
some humanity in
yes,
there as
there
well,
has to be. And it was the absence of humanity that I found in terms of his attitude. But that was an interesting, and that is fact. It's realistic in terms of that world that they live in.
It's all for the price of fame. Like, he wouldn't care about Daisy if she
he didn't.
Do you know what I mean?
And the fact, you know, he thought about it, the fact that the thought was there, you know, do I help her? Well, yes, you do. She's a human being. She is someone who is struggling. She is someone who is potentially going to kill herself. And the absolute lack of humanity there, I found really, really, really deplorable. And I thought that was so it was underwritten, you know, it was like the undercurrent throughout. The character that I did like was Teddy.
Yeah.
I thought the relationship between Billy and Teddy was lovely, and that he was that father figure, that
Yes.
role
Yeah.
model that he had clung on to. And Teddy seemed settled, and he seemed, you know, he knew what he wanted. And he was tuned in to the different, he knew how to
Dynamics and
work the
yes.
room in terms of how to placate the egos, which is a skill in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely,
You know,
especially in that group.
in that group where you had so many personalities and so many talent, and I think that comes with people who are talented, you know, that they all have a very definite mindset on how something should be put together.
Yeah, and they're all creative and they're all looking their say and stuff.
You know,
yeah.
so I thought even the character contrast between those two industry people
Yeah.
was very, very interesting.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of insight. It wasn't just the band, it was a lot of the people behind the scene as well, and sort of, you know, the impact that they had on the characters' lives as well, which was because again, it's stuff that we don't get to be privy to. Like, I wouldn't know the manager of my favorite band, and I wouldn't know the sort of relationship, you know, or you know what's going on there. So it was very interesting to see, you know, different personalities and how that impacts the band itself as well, you know.
So if I was to ask, just as we start to bring this to a close, what your takeaway from this text is, if you know what.
Oh, I can't say it. I've got a song
not?
in my head.
Okay, well, no,
No, I can't say it.
right. Well, what?
Do you mean like what my takeaway from the book is, or how I felt about the book, or
Either.
I liked the book. I loved the book,
Yeah.
actually. It gave me a real good insight into, you know, that sort of not Hollywood lifestyle, but that rock and roll lifestyle. You know, I liked the premise, you know, of bouncing off that Fleetwood Mac performance, you know, and looking at the what ifs and, you know, the exploration of, can it ever really be over if you've still got these songs? You know, the songs are immortal and they're filled with so much tension and passion, you know, and emotion. So I liked it.
So for me, the book is such a contradiction of, or I had such, you know, a complex reaction to it. I loved the book. I really loved it. I loved reading about it. In fact, I loved the expose element. I loved the different voices coming in. I really, really loved the fact that it exposed, I suppose, the superficiality of that world. But I was quite taken aback, because even though I know that is a huge part of that world, to actually see it being played out, you know, in a pen portrait, a word portrait on the page in front of you, was really quite, you know, it was like you were watching it as it was unfolding. And I felt the kind of, as you know, my emotional reaction to it was quite profound. And I am so glad that no one belonging to me is even on the periphery of that text, because I can see quite clearly how so many talented young people can be sucked into that world and get lost. So I think that for me, the tragedy of this text, whilst I thoroughly enjoyed it, was the fact that for all of these super, super talented people who have so much creativity and have that proverbial X factor, that even that doesn't fulfill, you know. And I find that so sad.
And I don't necessarily, I feel like the characters would be happy, you know, demonstrating their talent and stuff, but it's the world in which, or the context of it, you know, in order to make it big, this is the world that you have to live in, and you know, is it worth it?
And the answer, I think, that they all
Yeah.
have when they, when we come to the where are they now,
Yeah.
is absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There's nothing worth that.
Uh-huh.
And the only ones who benefited were the record companies.
Oh yeah.
Those kind of the
seedy,
suits,
yeah.
yes. And they were all kind of collateral damage
Yeah.
caught up in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my kind of takeaway from it.
Yeah.
The book leaves you with more questions.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it leaves you with questions, but it also opens your eyes. It did make me appreciate what I have, because I feel like we always look and, the grass is greener. If only I was richer,
Absolutely, yeah.
famouser, more famouser. Is that
I
a
was
word?
just, no, it's
More
not. That's
famous.
right.
It's the Prosecco.
Oh, even with my cold and
But
the
see
Prosecco,
how
I
I
was
caught
like,
on?
yes, you did it. But I think it was my reaction. You're like, what did I just say there?
More famous.
Yeah. Famouser.
Well, I said richer. It was like
an
an was coming. But yeah, it made me appreciate my life more. What I have, like
100%.
as Finn says, I'm not rich in money, but I'm rich in love.
Finn and Killian.
I'm also not poor, by the way, so.
But and that was my line to them.
I'm fed up people being told that I'm poor, because I'm not.
But you're rich in everything that matters,
Yes.
and that's it. Well, listen, if you had to give it a star rating out of 5,
I'd give it 5. I would.
so
did
would
like
I.
it.
I would absolutely. So just to fast track to next week, and we're going slightly off kilter, off track
different book,
again.
yeah.
With a different style, just because we like to keep a little bit of variety. So the text that we are going to be looking at next week is the Thursday Murder Club, and I think this is a series. There's more. There's sequels to it. This is the first. Yeah. And I've started to read it already, and again, it's superb.
It's a great one.
So, Christina, that was another robust discussion, I think. So we look forward to you joining us next week on Prosecco and PlotTwists. So, and your glass!
What?
It has, look.
The bottle's empty.
But your glass is half full.
What do you see?
Yes.
Next week it'll be up to here.
So, cheers until next week.